From the nation's capital, Monrovia, good evening and welcome to King's Newsroom, 45 minutes news presentation about Liberia, Africa, and the rest of the world. Today is Friday, September 19th, 2025, and I'm Newton Tucker presenting. Stories we're following this evening, barely 2 days after the suspension of Deputy Youth and Sports Minister Bryant Mangill for allegedly raping a 14-year-old girl. President Joseph Boakai appoints Alfonso Bella as acting Deputy Minister for Youth Development with immediate effect. Senate Committee Chair on National Security, Defense, Intelligence, and Veteran Affairs says that the confirmation process of nominees to head the Liberal Job Enforcement Agency will no longer be influenced by political affiliation, personal connections, or party loyalty. Deputy Commissioner of Police and officer in charge of Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency, Fitzgerald Biako, reaffirms the agency's determination to root out drug traffickers and addiction, describes the issue as a direct threat to national security. Away from home, more than 70 people have been killed following a drone strike on a mosque in Sudan's Darfur region, a senior medical source has told the BBC. A South African hospital cleaner has been arrested after being found in possession of a bag of human placentas in eastern Mpumalanga province, police said. These plus the news bulletin, our international developments, are all packaged. We're taking a very short break to be right back. Let's now have the news bulletin. In a swift and decisive move to maintain stability within the Ministry of Youth and Sports, President Joseph Boakai has appointed Alfonso Bella as acting Deputy Minister for Youth Development. The appointment, effective immediately, follows the suspension of Deputy Minister Bryant Mangill, who is facing a serious rape allegation involving a 14-year-old girl. The suspension, announced Wednesday by the Executive Mansion, comes amid growing public concerns and pressure for accountability and justice in the cases of sexual violence, particularly those allegedly perpetrated by public officials. The gravity of the accusation has sent reactions through the government and civil society. Women's rights organizations, youth advocates, and members of the public are demanding full transparency and a thorough, impartial investigation. Many of the civil society groups are also calling on the Ministry of Gender, Children, and Social Protection, as well as the Liberian National Police, to act swiftly and ensure justice is served. In announcing Bella's appointment, President Boakai emphasized the need for continuity and uninterrupted leadership within the Ministry of Youth and Sports, especially at the time when critical programs aimed at empowering Liberia's young people are underway. Lofa County Senator and Chairperson of the Liberian Senate Committee on National Security, Defense, Intelligence, and Veteran Affairs, Senator Momo Sarah, has vowed that the confirmation process of nominees to head the Liberal Drug Enforcement Agency will no longer be influenced by political affiliation, personal connections, or party loyalty. Speaking Friday at his Capitol building office in Monrovia, Senator Saros emphasized that the Senate Committee, under his leadership, is now committed to more rigorous and merit-based vetting of individuals nominated by the executive branch to lead the country's fight against drug trafficking and abuse. According to him, the days of backdoor lobbying, political favoritism, and unqualified appointments to sensitive national security roles are over. He noted that the Senate committee is committed to ensuring that those nominated to head the LDA are professional people with the required education, technical competence, and leadership skills to effectively tackle the growing drug crisis in the country. The chairperson of the Liberian Senate Committee on National Security, Defense, Intelligence, and Veteran Affairs remarks come amid increasing public scrutiny of Liberia's capacity to manage the alarming surge in drug trafficking and substance abuse, particularly among the country's youth. The Deputy Commissioner of Police and officers in charge of the Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency, Fijara Biako, has pledged an uncompromising national response to the growing crisis of drug abuse in the country. Speaking during a community engagement event in Bon County, Commissioner Biako reaffirmed the agency's determination to root out drug traffickers and addiction, describing the issue as a direct threat to national security and youth. The event, held in collaboration with local leaders, educators, healthcare providers, and law enforcement partners, aimed to regalvanize national support for prevention and enforcement strategies. He said drug abuse is eroding the society and social fabric of the country, with an alarming rise in youth addiction, school dropouts, and gang-related activities linked to narcotics. Commissioner Biakot warned drug traffickers, stating that the LDA under his watch will go after those who are drug traffickers. Commissioner Biakot emphasized that the fight against drug is not just a law enforcement issue, but a national security priority, adding that the LDA is working closely with the Ministry of Education to implement comprehensive drug prevention program in schools. Meanwhile, Biako cited the arrest of huge drug substances in Monserrate County, particularly within District 17, describing it as a victory in the LDA's fight against drugs. The Chief Executive Officer of Thompson Development Alliance, William Tellable Thompson, says the TDA was established as a social development institution to push the development agendas of young people and the student community. He boasted of the TDA having a big scholarship scheme in Salala District and the diversification of the organization by supporting women in agriculture, to making farms, the establishment of Women for Economic Growth program, among others. Thompson emphasized that a scope development studies conducted in 2020 by the TDA supported the upgrade of most students' livelihood in the district to come back and contribute to society, something he said led to the establishment of the student internship program in 2021. Thompson noted that the goal of the SIP was to provide every student jobs following their graduation from high school, administering standardized aptitude tests, and teaching ninth graders professional application writing. He added that the introduction of the standardized aptitude test led to many students making successful pass in the West African Senior School Certificate examination in the district. The government of Liberia, through the Ministry of Education, has announced the removal of over 1,000 teachers from the national payroll who are classified as non-performing teachers. According to authorities at the Ministry of Education, the move is part of an ongoing effort to reform and improve the country's educational system. Making a disclosure on behalf of the Ministry of Education during MICA press briefing Thursday, Acting Education Minister Anthony Nyeket Fokpa said those affected are teachers who have refused to honor their official assignments in other parts of the country. Fokpa noted that the action by the affected teachers have resulted to serious abandonment of school-going children in those parts of the country. He added that failed by the affected teachers who challenged the ministry decision has resulted to their replacement by teachers who they believe are committed to do the job. The Office of the Establishment of War and Economic Crimes Court in Liberia says the transitional justice system is not focusing on establishing a tribunal that will prosecute and jail people suspected of crimes, but rather victims who were severely injured resulting to disabilities to receive redress. The executive director of the office, Councillor Jalad Babu, disclosed that the office is drafting a legislation that would take into consideration all sectors of the Liberian society. He made a disclosure at the dedication of the newly acquired headquarters of the National Union of Organization of the Disabled, located in Monrovia on Thursday. Also speaking, Director General of Civil Service Agency, Josiah Joket, called on heads of ministries, agencies, commissions, and bureaus of government to give people with disability equal opportunities for employment. According to Joket, people with disability have been marginalized over the years, but the government of President Joseph Boakai will never allow discrimination against any Liberian because of deformity. At the same time, the National Commission on Disability has called on the national legislature to include the National Union of Organizations of the Disabled international budget. The executive director of the commission, Samuel Dean, said NORD, like Federation of Liberian Youth and the Liberian Albino Society, is seeking the welfare of people with disabilities. Dean also appealed to President Joseph Boakai to issue an executive order that will compel all ministries, agencies, commission, and bureaus to establish disability days to address issues affecting people with disabilities. For his part, the president of the National Union of Organization of the Disabled, Peter Flomut, appealed to partners for assistance to renovate and furnish the new headquarters of the institution. Feminist activist Vic John Wooten, a group of women's rights campaigners on Thursday stormed the headquarters of the Liberian National Police demanding swift arrest of Deputy Minister for Youth Development Bryant Mangill. The activists said they could no longer tolerate what they described as deliberate delays in handling Deputy Minister alleged rape case. Medical reports have since confirmed that the minor was raped, but authorities of the Liberian National Police had yet to effect any arrest of Mangill, something many people describe as the police shooting alleged rapist because of his political status. The rights campaigners also accused the government of only being concerned of enforcing laws against ordinary Liberians. According to them, the police is hesitating to arrest and the accused minister, stating that at this time he should be behind bars. The superintendent of Margibi County, O.J. Morris, had described the fight against illicit drugs in Liberia as a national emergency, calling on the national government to take a holistic approach. Speaking at the large gathering Thursday, Superintendent Morris emphasized that the fight against narcotic substances should not be left solely to the Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency. He noted that tackling the growing drug problem is a shared responsibility that demands collective ideas and action from all sectors of society. According to Superintendent Morris, it is likely that some drug dealers may be living within local communities, pretending to be part of the solution while actively contributing to the problem. And Liberia People's Party political leader, Councillor Tewan Gonglo, has clarified recent remarks that sparked debate within Liberia's media community, noting that his message was a call for ethical journalism and not an attack on the press. In a statement he titled A Respectful Plea for a Stronger Liberian Press, Councillor Gonglo emphasized his long-standing defense for press freedom and reiterated his commitment to the free and independent media in Liberia. According to him, recent caution against missionary journalism was not an attack on the profession, rather a plea for ethics and professionalism to be upheld in the profession. He said while most responses were positive, he acknowledged valid concerns raised about delayed government payments and limited advertising support for private media, factors he said have weakened the industry. Conclo urged the government to use its economic power to strengthen and not sideline the press by ensuring timely payments, transparent public interest advertisement, and inclusive media engagement across all counties and languages. What if you just joining us? A reminder you're listening to King's Newsroom, a 45 minutes news presentation about Liberia, Africa, and the rest of the world. Today is Friday, September 19, 2025, and I'm Newton Tupa presenting. Service will follow this evening, barely 2 days after the suspension of Deputy Youth and Sports Minister Bryant McGill for allegedly raping a 14-year-old girl. President Joseph Boakai appoints Alfonso Bella as acting Deputy Minister for Youth Development with immediate effect. Senate Committee Chair on National Security, Defense, Intelligence, and Veteran Affairs says the confirmation process of nominees to head the Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency would no longer be influenced by political affiliation, personal connections, or party loyalty. Deputy Deputy Commissioner of Police and officer in charge of Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency, Fitzgerald Biako, reaffirms the agency's determination to root out drug traffickers and addiction, describes the issue as a direct threat to national security. And away from Liberia, more than 70 people have been killed following a drone strike on a mosque in South Sudan Darfur region, a senior medical source has told the BBC. A South African hospital cleaner has been arrested after being found in possession of a bag of hemoplacentas in eastern Pumalanga province, police said. We'll take another break. When we come back, we'll bring you the voices of the news makers. On this one, Alofa County Senator and Chairperson of the Liberia Senate Committee on National Security, Defense, Intelligence, and Veteran Affairs, Senator Momo Cyrus, has vowed the confirmation process for nominees to head the Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency will no longer be influenced by political affiliation, personal connections, or party loyalty. Speaking Friday at his Capitol Building office in Monrovia, Senator Cyrus emphasized that the Senate Committee under the leadership is now committed to a more rigorous and merit-based vetting of individuals nominated by the executive branch to lead the country's fight against drug trafficking and abuse. According to him, the days of backdoor lobbying, political favoritism, and unqualified appointments to sensitive national security roles are over.
As the Committee on Security, that responsible confirmation of security actors or security chiefs that will be coming here, that will be appointed by the executive. This time around, the committee have decided and have been resolute that will be very keen on people that will be nominated to manage the drugs enforcement agency. It's not going to be the business as usual where people will call us and ask us about favor because of relative or because of party lines or because of some connections. This time around, those that will be nominated to take over the Liberia Drugs Enforcement Agency has to be professional people who make sure that those that will be nominated will go through the formality and they will have the pedigree, necessary ability and technical skills and education to manage the Liberia Drugs. I thought to bring that to the public.
Lofa County Senator and Chairperson of the Liberian Senate Committee on National Security, Defense, Intelligence, and Veteran Affairs, Senator Momo Cyrus there speaking. The Deputy Commissioner of Police and officer in charge of the Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency, Fitzgerald Biako, has pleaded or pledged an uncompromising national response to the growing crisis of drug abuse in the country. Speaking during a community engagement event in Brown County, Commissioner Biako reaffirmed the agency's determination to root out drug traffickers and addiction, describing the issue as a direct threat to national security and youth. The event held in collaboration with local leaders, educators, healthcare providers, and law enforcement partners aim to galvanize national support for prevention and enforcement strategies.
We have come today in recognition and collaboration with the effort to join the LGA and the government of Liberia in the fight against drug trafficking and substance abuse that today destroys our youthful generation and poses serious risks and consequences to our families, communities, and undermining our national security and our nation. Remember, and many communities and cities across our nation face the severe consequences of drug abuse. The issue impacts on individuals, families, and the broader community, and threatens the very fabric of our society. To the leadership of Broom Sept, effective prevention starts with education. The establishment of effective and comprehensive drug prevention programs in schools is crucial for empowering young people to make informed choices and resist peer pressure. Having open dialogue among students, parents, and media organizations ensure this program remains impactful. Beyond schools, educating motorcyclists, car washers, drivers about the danger of illicit drugs and substances is essential. By creating opportunities and supporting systems, we can prevent individuals from turning to drug abusers. My fellow citizens, no single group can solve the issue of drugs crisis alone. Building partnership with and among community members, schools, law enforcement community, healthcare provider, rehabilitation center, religious and traditional leaders, government officials and agencies is better to the success of our national state. Collaborating effectively with civil society organizations in the message of no to drugs is essential at this point. Collaborating effort will help us create a network of support allowing for effective prevention, treatment, and recovery strategies. Community engagement through town hall meetings, workshops, and awareness campaigns empower residents to actively participate in prevention efforts and foster a sense of shared responsibilities.
Meanwhile, Biako cited the arrest of huge drug substances in Mozzarella County, particularly within District 17, describing it as a victory in the LDA's fight against drugs. Deputy Commissioner of Police called for cross-sector collaboration, stressing that no single institution or agency can solve the drug crisis alone, warned that more work lies ahead. The agency.
The DA reaffirmed a commitment to the fight against drugs and substance abuse with the effort yesterday with the seizure and arrest of a huge narcotic substance in Broadway, Mozzarella County, and the arresting of a major importer in Liberia. We are still firm and we are ready to fight the issue of drugs abuse. And let it be clear, we'll go after drug traffickers and we'll dismantle your network and we'll ensure that you feel forward of the law. Those who benefit from destroying life and property, we are coming after you. There is no hiding place for you at this point. The people are contented. What they are showing you today, and the LDA stand firm on you. We are asking community members to be a watch for the LDA. We are aware that there are other shade of people in LDA who have shared these. We will not hesitate. We will weed it out little by little. And we will start with born content. We have decisive action in the economic days for being born content. We are very informed that there are other members of the Joint Security, especially LTA, who have been involved in aiding and bailing and providing sensitive information to drug traffickers, to our parents, to our school principals, to our educators, to our religious communities, to the media, to the non-separate union. We are seeking collaboration. We are patriot citizens. The LTA will go after the sales and distribution of illicit substances in Liberia. Addressing drug abuse requires more punitive measures. Rehabilitation and recovery are central to helping individuals reclaim their lives. We are working with all relevant institutions, including our healthcare providers, the Ministry of Youth, local government, our chief plans, plan chief, elders, zone chief. We are open to work with you because these incidents happen within the communities. Please report the issue of drug abuse, drug trafficking within the community. The path the drug-free program depends on prevention.
He is the officer in charge of Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency, Fitzgerald Biako, speaking. The Chief Executive Officer of Thompson Development Alliance, William Thompson, says the TDA was established as a social development institution to push the development agendas of young people and the student community. He boasted of the TDA having a big year's scholarship scheme in Salala District, the diversification of the organization by supporting women in agriculture to making farms, the establishment of Women for Economic Growth program, among others.
We established the Thompson Development Alliance as a social development institution that will push the development agenda of the young people through our own medium. Okay. And through that, we maintain the biggest scholarship in our districts up to that point. And then we also start to diversify the TDA, wherein we start doing, women in agriculture. We start supporting, some women to make farms and other things. We start supporting them, and it start going very well. We had our Women for Economic Growth program because, the mothers really stand by their children. So we start saying, okay, if we empower these mothers, these women, they can also support their children as well, instead of that burden just be on us as an institution. And we started teaching them how to make soap. They started marketing it, and it started going very well with them. Okay. And then at some point in time, we came in 2020 when we did our development, scoping development studies on our activities. We got to know that, okay, some of these students we are sending to school, once they graduate from high school, some of them will now move from Todota, they will now move from Sala District, they will now go elsewhere. then those students will now remain to those same places, or some of them go back in the interior. So what do we do? That's not our intention.
Okay.
Our intention is their livelihood must change, and they must come back to contribute more to the society. So we launched the student internship program, our SIP, in 2021. And the goal of that program was, okay, when you are graduate, to give every student graduating from high school in district number 6, Bonkante, the platform to have a job after graduating from high school.
Okay.
And then not only the job, that we provide for them, because we recruit them competitively. We send in an application, we review that application. So students that are now in 9th grade, they start practicing, okay, at the TDA internship program, I need to write application. Okay. So you now start, that ambition start to grow, because that's the only way you are recruited in our program. And after you have written that application, we now scrutinize the application. Okay. From there, we give a standardized aptitude test. And that test is also helping our students. This year, we had a very great passing mark.
He is the Chief Executive Officer of the Thompson Development Alliance, William Terrible Thompson. They are speaking. The Women's Presidium's Bureau of the Vanguard Student Unification Party has angrily criticized what they describe as a politically motivated and morally hollow response to serious allegations of sexual violence involving suspended Deputy Minister Bryant McGill. In a statement delivered during a press conference at the party on the main campus of the University of Liberia, Madam Beno Kamara, chairperson of the organization, said the suspension of Deputy Youth and Sports Minister Bryant McGill, who has been accused of raping a 14-year-old girl, is a way of government shielding its officials.
The Women's of the Vanguard Student Unification Party seizes this critical moment in our nation's history to categorically reject the superficial suspension of Deputy Youth and Sports Minister J. Bryant McGill. We refuse to dignify with applause the hollow gesture of suspending a suspected rapist. Mr. Barker's administration has an infamous as a government of suspension, symbolic, two-flex, a theoretically stage for public pacification. For the politically naive, suspension may resemble justice, but soup through ex-vibrant women's presidium will never permit the incompetent and morally bankrupt United Party regime to indoctrinate or manipulate the Liberian people with such and empty optics. We are exhausted by Mr. Parker's recycle suspension clinches and insultingly predictable dramatic masquerading as governance. A regime that shouts about suspension from the rooftop but stays mute and motionless when it comes to persecution is not a government. It is a political circus act, shamelessly gambling in performative governance while real justice is trampled underfoot. Thomas, due to immense public outcry, the Bataku government reluctantly and disingenuously suspended Mr. McGill, not because they believe in social justice, nor in the protection of women and children from depraved predators, not because they are guardians of women's dignity, and certainly not because they care about cultivating a morally upright society. Rather, they are there out of sheer political self-preservation, seeking only to share their parochial interests from the wrath of public scrutiny. These better-giving opportunities and intellectual bankrupt scholars who serve into power on the tender wave of social economies, they spear engulfing the Liberian masses, where temperature will boil over or dissipate into revealing the regime's habitual reluctance to confront wrong when it implicates one of their.
Meanwhile, Madam Kamara criticized the Bouaka Kun administration for ignoring the voices of students and civil society activists who have constantly been demanding accountability not only in cases of sexual violence but also in broader issues of governance and public integrity.
Meanwhile, the Women's Presidium of the Student Unification Party says a recently matches to the pink-lip Rogi Ram impersonator, a TikTok celebrity, a Malcolm Tree Casino coyote masquerading as Inspector General of Police. None other than government investigation is ongoing common. The so-called law enforcement officer is first a master of spin. This buffoon is utterly bereft of any understanding of professional policing and genuine police reform. He is intellectually alienated from his tenets and even the foundational principle of law enforcement and criminal justice. Devoid of the intellectual and administrative wherewithal required for leadership, the Liberian National Police under his watch has been reduced to a national embarrassment. Stripped of even a share of public respect, Government Commons' only known expertise lies in gambling and in harassing peaceful students activists who so demand is the reopening of the University of Liberia under a profound condition and environment. Instead of engaging with the political substance of student activism, he default to the use of primitive, brute-force, probably decent rather than confronting corruption. Yet, the same men lacks the courage, the conviction, and moral clarity to arrest a rapist in jail Brian Mangel, who stands accused of raping a 14-year-old girl. Such a selective enforcement is not only a cowardly, it is a criminal complexity in disguise.
Beno, Camara, they're speaking. What if just joining us with the time half past the hour? A reminder, you're listening to King's Newsroom, the 45 minutes news presentation about Liberia, Africa, and the rest of the world. Stories will follow in this evening, barely 2 days after the suspension of Deputy Youth and Sports Minister Brian Mangill for allegedly raping a 14-year-old girl. President Joseph Boakai appoints Alfonso Bella as acting Deputy Minister for Youth Development with immediate effect. Senate Committee chaired on National Security, Defense, Intelligence, and Veteran Affairs says the confirmation process of nominees to head the Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency will no longer be influenced by political affiliation, personal connections, or party loyalty. Deputy Commissioner of Police and officer in charge of the Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency, Vijara Biakod, reaffirms the agency's determination to root out drug trafficking and addiction, describes the issue as a direct threat to national security. And away from Liberia, more than 70 people have been killed following a drone strike on the mosque in Sudan's Darfur region, a senior medical source has told the BBC. A South African hospital cleaner has been arrested after being found in possession of a bag of hemoplacentas in eastern Mpumalanga province, police said. We'll take another break. When we come back, we continue with more voices. The government of Liberia, through the Ministry of Education, has announced the removal of 1,000 teachers from the national payroll who are classified as non-performing teachers. According to authorities of the Ministry of Education, the move is part of an ongoing effort to reform and improve the country's educational system. Making a disclosure on behalf of the Ministry of Education during Mika press briefing Thursday, Acting Education Minister Anthony Yeket Fokbat said those affected are teachers who have refused to honor their official assignments in other parts of the country.
The minister, during the last budget year, this current budget year is about to conclude, petition the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning and the legislature for funding to enroll about 2,000 of our volunteer teachers who are vetted, qualified, on the payroll. The Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, in concert with the legislature, said they could provide funding for 1,000 volunteers to be enrolled on the payroll. Then, on our own volition, having realized that there were many teachers on our payroll who refused to go to the areas of assignment. There are teachers on the payroll who, for example, supposed to be assigned in Grand Jide, in one country, in Lofa, in Bakuru, and other places, who were taking salaries and leaving our children on attendance in the classroom. So we did the assessment and we identified around 1,000 of such teachers. Gave them the opportunity to come to the Ministry of Education to show reason why they should not be removed from the classroom owing to the fact that they abandoned our classroom and left our children on the tent. Because our 1,000 of them could not show any valid reason why they were not in our classrooms, we removed 1,000 of them from the payroll and replaced them with 1,000 volunteer teachers, the actual people who were in our classroom doing the work. On the way here, I contacted the CSA to ask how far we were with enrolling the volunteer teachers on the payroll. I was told, and I will state, that as of this morning, 217 volunteer teachers have been processed to receive salaries for September. An additional 600 volunteers personnel action notices have been processed. They are on the DG desk for signature. The CSA showed us that between now and end of October, they will do all that they can do to ensure that our volunteer teachers are all enrolled on the payroll.
Minister Fokpat also disclosed that as part of its engagement with the Civil Service Agency for the well-being of the teachers, 417 out of 2,000 identified volunteer teachers have already been processed to begin receiving salaries beginning September, adding that the remaining will be added by October.
Anything relative to fees, school closure, report. Having said that, I would now like to be clear on the issue of graduation fees. We've had many comments about graduation fees. Parents are calling all across the country because the schools, notwithstanding the fees that we've specified in the academic calendar, some have chosen to take matters in their own hands and charge our students astronomical fees. The academic calendar states that the graduation fee for 12th grade public school 5,000 Liberian dollars. Public school, 12th grade, graduation fee is 5,000 Liberian dollars. Private school, 12th grade, 100 US dollars. 6th and 9th grade, public school, 3,500 Liberian dollars.
His acting Education Minister, Anthony Nyeket Fokpa, there speaking. The Office of the Establishment of War and Economic Crimes Court in Liberia says a transitional justice system is not focusing on establishing a tribunal that will prosecute and jail people suspected of crimes, but rather for victims who were severely injured, resulting to disabilities to receive redress. The executive director of the office, Councillor Jalad Babu, disclosed that the office is drafting a legislation that will take into consideration all sectors of the Liberian society. He made a disclosure at the dedication of the newly acquired headquarters of the National Union of Organizations of the Disabled located in Monrovia on Thursday.
The War and Economic Crimes Code is now focused on establishing a code just for people to be tried and put in jail. We go beyond that as an office. It is a transitional justice process. And by that process, we also take into account the rights of people to receive redress other than being satisfied that people have gone to jail. It means, therefore, that several thousands and thousands of people suffered as a result of the war. They would not have been in the situations that they are in had it not been because of the civil crisis. Therefore, they definitely do need redress beyond people going to court. The law we are drafting is taking that into account so that tomorrow, when the law is passed, there will be a provision in there on that. However, I cannot, as a person, say conclusively that I know what you're thinking about, I know your heart's desire, and I know your concern. For that reason, we don't need to consult you, not by sight. You are an integral part of the code-making process. That is why we've always encouraged and appreciated NODE that has come to all of the transitional justice meetings to participate, to make their views felt, and all of those. I want to say today, I thank NODE for making itself present in the various activities that we have had. That said, I want to encourage you to bring many, many more people to the meetings. At the same time, I want to assure you that now that you have an office, in our own little weak way, we'll make our contributions that we can make for the office to continue to grow.
Also speaking, the Director General of the Civil Service Agency, Josiah Joket, called on heads of ministries, agencies, commissions, and bureaus of government to give people with disabilities equal opportunities for employment.
For too long, I must tell you the truth that people with disabilities have been pushed at the margins of our society. Too often, they have been seen as objects of pity instead of partners in progress. This is not about a symbol of silence. This is a great symbol of voice that refuses to be ignored. Noah is really standing tall against all odds, and by standing tall, Noah is reminding us that the dignity of a nation is measured by how it treats those who are vulnerable. So there is a responsibility on the part of the government. And as Director General of the Civil Service Agency, I must be very honest with you that government has a sacred duty. And our Constitution guarantees that equal opportunity for every citizen. Our international commitments behind us shows that there must be inclusion at all levels, and that our conscience demands that we all must act now. It is not enough for us to be making speeches. It is not enough for us to pass laws. We must take action, and it must be real, it must be concrete actions. And those actions must change lives. Because disability rights are not favors to be granted, not at all. They are human rights to be protected. What must we do? First, we must open the doors of employment. The civil service must not be closed to people with disabilities. Recruitment, promotion, and workplace accommodation must reflect inclusivity. So we must ensure inclusivity. We must ensure that they have access to employment like every other Liberian. They must have access to other opportunities in the civil service. Second, we must open up doors of education. Schools, vacation centers, and training programs must empower persons with disabilities to learn, to grow, and also to compete. They must be provided such equal opportunities. Third, we must open up the doors of accessibility. Our schools, our hospitals, our offices, and public spaces must not be barriers. They must be open, accessible, and welcoming to all.
He's Josiah Joket, the Director General of the Civil Service Agency. Earlier, you heard the voice of the head of War and Economic Crimes Code, Councillor Jala Babu. And away from Liberia, more than 70 people have been killed following a drone strike on a mosque in Sudan's Darfur region, a senior medical source has told the BBC. Friday's attack in the city of El Fasher has been blamed to the Rapid Support Forces, but the group has not taken responsibility. The RSF and the army have been engaged in a ferocious war for more than 2 years. The paramilitaries support group are gaining ground as they fight to seize complete control of El Fasher, the last army stronghold in Darfur, and the home of more than 300,000 civilians who have been trapped by the fighting. One resident told the BBC that the drone struck during morning prayers, killing dozens of people instantly. The medical source says 78 died and about 20 were injured, but the process of extracting the bodies from the rubble of the building was still ongoing. A South African hospital cleaner has been arrested after being found in possession of a bag of hemoplacentas in eastern Mpumalanga province, police said. Rose Missy was allegedly seeking potential buyers for the human body tissue when she was picked up by security officers following a tip-off. The woman confirmed that she is a cleaner in the maternity ward, Police said in a statement. The 39-year-old woman appeared in court on Thursday, facing charges of illegal possession of human tissues. The body parts were seized and sent for forensic analysis. She has yet to respond to her charges. On that note, I would like to go home this evening on this edition of King's Newsroom, a 45 minutes news presentation about Liberia, Africa, and the rest of the world. But just before we go home this evening, let's remind you of stories we've been following. Barely 2 days after the suspension of Deputy Youth and Sports Minister Bryant McGill for allegedly raping a 14-year-old girl, President Joseph Boakai appoints Afonso Bella as acting Deputy Minister for Youth Development with immediate effect. Senate Committee Chair on National Security, Defense, Intelligence and Veteran Affairs says the confirmation process of nominees to head the Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency will no longer be influenced by political affiliation, personal connections, or party loyalty. Deputy Commissioner of Police and officer in charge of the Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency, Vijara Biako, reaffirms the agency's determination to root out drug traffickers and addiction, describes the issue as direct threat to national security. And away from Liberia, more than 70 people have been killed following a drone strike on a mosque in Sudan's Darfur region, a senior medical source has told the BBC. A South African hospital cleaner has been arrested after being found in possession of a bag of human placentas in eastern Mpumalanga province, police say. These are stories to follow here this evening on King's Newsroom. Better still join us Monday, at which time we'll be here with another splendid and exquisite edition of the program. Sam Andrew sat at controls and coordinated the sound. My name is Newton Tukwa. Have yourself a pleasant good evening. Bye-bye.